Hello, everyone, and welcome to another talk show of Fat Corner. At Fat Corner, our motto is empowering youth towards a better Africa. And the aim of our talk shows, interviews, and debate is to educate young people in Nigeria, in Africa at large, on their roles in leadership, in politics, in governance, and in nation building. So today on this show, I'm going to be talking about Peter Obi's Obedient movement. What next? You agree with me that the obedient movement has awakened the consciousness of a generation of young Nigerians who see Peter Obi candidacy, who see hope in Peter Obi candidacy for Nigerian presidency. And I want to start by saying that the obedient movement will outlive the current election, regardless of the results announced by INEC. But one thing is very certain and is very sure, which is that obedient movement is going to outlive this current political cycle. And I think it's a force to look forward to. So I'm going to be talking on a number of issues today. I'm going to be talking about what are the contending issues, what is the way forward for the obedient movement, what are the challenges that are facing the movement right now. But it's important to look at some of the things that has happened in the past, some of the things that the movement have done in the past, how they have done them. On February 11, 2023, that was when Peter Obi was in Lagos for a rally. There was a teenager called Yusuf Alami, who stood in front of a car that was carrying Peter Obi with his both arms outstretched, and the candidate was smiling at him through the car sunroof. And that photo went viral, which was like a symbol of love that Obi supporters have for their candidate. So that day, Yusuf was among thousands of enthusiastic young Nigerians who flooded the streets of Lagos, shouting political slogans of hope, of resilience, of inspiration. And like many others, they believe that Peter Obi candidacy heralds the dawn of a new Nigeria. Now, I want to say that this is not the first time that young Nigerians have shown hope in presidential candidates. In 2015, about 8 years ago, or let me say pre-2015 election, you would agree with me that young Nigerians endorsed the candidacy of Muhammadu Buhari to become the president, and they were so resolute. They used social media a lot to sort of show their support for the candidacy of Muhammadu Buhari. But what did they get? In the past 10 years, or in the past, let me say in the past 8 years or 7 years of Buhari's administration, Nigeria has suffered enormous economic hardship, numerous security threats, which has escalated beyond northeast Nigeria, which was where which was where it was really affected by security crisis before the administration of Muhammadu Buhari. But the security threat has escalated beyond northwest, and the mood in the country was been very bad. So Peter Obi's candidacy for the president brought some sort of hope and some sort of political moves that was reshaping the nation's political landscape, which was different from what we used to have. And so Peter Obi is not a newbie to political landscape in Nigeria. He was former governor of Anambra State, and he has previous career in banking. And for young people to adopt or to endorse his candidacy, majority of young people in Nigeria It was because they look at his campaign, which emphasizes visionary and accountability, because he was the candidate, the only candidate that was saying, go and verify my track record, go and verify my antecedents in office, go and verify my behaviors in the public. And even apart from that, he was the only candidate that was not involved in throwing tantrums. He usually emphasized that campaign must be issue-based. So throughout the campaign, he comported himself in a very good way, and that made young people to sort of put their hope in him, and the support was organic. They came out in number to do rallies, to do talks for him, because they believe that Peter Obi espouses values such as transparency, accountability, and respect for diversity. And he also encouraged young people to become the participants in the political process. So his candidacy appealed to young people, irrespective of what some other people believe. And Obidients were called different sort of names. They were blackmailed. A lot of people saying that they are bullying people. They are cyberbullying people, and a lot of this thing. But one thing that was certain was that Obidients movement was resolute, and they were focused, and they came out to show their dissatisfaction with the traditional two ruling parties, or let me say two major parties in the country, because they believe that the political leaders from APC and from PDP, they believe that they have been implicated in high corruption scandals, and they believe that the corruption ranking of the country has worsened, and they believe that these two parties, these two main parties, have contributed a lot to the corruption scandals that we have in the country. They believe that these two parties are responsible. PDP were responsible, and now APC is responsible for the economic struggles in the country, the youth unemployment, the inflation rate, and so many things, security crisis, and so many wrong things, so many things that are wrong with the Nigerian state. So they believe that these two parties are responsible for all of this. And Yusuf Alamis, the young boy that stood in front of Obi's convoy, his action encapsulates the aspirations of a deprived, battered, and oppressed generation of young Nigerians who see a glimmer of hope in Peter Obi's governance philosophy, and whose platform has incontrovertibly reawakened the political consciousness of young Nigerians. So, the election on February 25th has been conducted. INEC has announced the supposed winner of that election. But one thing is important is that we need to look back and try to analyze how Obidients movement has gone about comporting themselves during the campaign process, and also during the election process, and even after the election process, and what will be the way forward for them. So these are some of the issues that I will be discussing on the show today. Now, the youth movement that was propelling the candidacy of Peter Obi, the Obidients, the first thing I want to say is that they are a threat to Nigeria political establishment, especially the APC and the PDP. And we've seen the result of that in in February 25th presidential election and National Assembly election, we see how they came out to vote and how they turn around what we used to have two-party domination. And currently we have Peter Obi presidency winning in 11 states of the federation and the FCT making it 12. The APC, the ruling party, winning in 12 states, and PDP winning in 12 states. And we've seen their participation on social media, and we've seen their participation even during the registration for voting, collection of PVC, which INEC confirmed that it's risen, especially among young Nigerians. And there's a model they use, which was online mobilization, which is new in some ways to what we used to have. People are always looking for where they can come and rally together. And young people, they've used social media to sort of mobilize themselves, organize themselves, and make sure that they come out to challenge the two main parties in the country. And they use a lot of effective method, which is new in Nigerian political landscape, a lot of effective method on social media to mobilize. They invest a lot, and there were a lot going behind the scene, because when you look at the 1 million work that was organized across different states in the federation, you look at the amount of planning, the amount of organization, the amount of mobilization that go behind the scene in those things is something that is tremendously different from what we used to have. And a lot of people, even when a lot of people were saying that this is just effervescence, this is just they don't have structure, they don't pose any threat. The resilience of this group of people was really commendable, was strong, and they came out, hundreds of thousands of them flocking the Peter Obi's campaign, and they take the country by surprise in the way they comport themselves and so on and so forth. But there is and they came out on the election day, which is the effective way of actually cementing all the things they've been doing pre-election day, all the things they've been doing in their rallies. So the election presented the opportunity for them to now cement everything they've been doing. Now, what are the contending issues? What are the problems right now? Let's look at Nigeria political landscape. After 1999, what did we get? We get the bandwagon effects of the military regime in Nigeria, which reinvented what we call political godfathers and money bags. So Nigerian democratic rule kicked off in 1999 with what we call godfather and money bags. And these are people with heavy financial weight to assert control over political parties through influencing the conduct of internal party election, funding of political party, and financing candidates in general elections. And they sort of take over the entire political landscape, these godfathers, these money bags, in such a way that you don't win primary election without them. You don't get funding for your general election without them. They control everything. And up to the process of nominating party candidates, they are in charge of it. And this was prior to, so this was what we have from 1999 up until 2018. So in 2018, we have a major breakthrough in legislation to try to encourage young people to participate in politics. So in 2018, we have Not Too Young to Run bill, and which make provision for age eligibility in order to run for office, which did not favor the youth in the past, but not too young to run bill makes provision for young people to participate. However, the major constraints that sort of restrict the participation of young people from 2018 was that the political system prioritizes financial status, prioritizes party affiliation above every other thing. So the young people, even though they meet the educational requirement, they meet the age requirement that was specified in not too young to run bill, the barrier remains that the financial status was did not favor them, because not many of them have access to the kind of money that the money bags and godfathers has to effectively compete in the political space. So not too young to run bill was practically ineffective, because young people, even though the legislation made provision for them that if you are 30 years of age, you can contest senator and you can contest for governorship election. If you are 25 years, you can contest for House of Representatives and State Assembly. And if you are 40 years of age, you can contest for the presidency. But factors such as the funding of political party, the financial status of what a candidate needs to have, did not make them to participate. And also the monetization of the electoral process really exacerbated youth exclusion. It favors the older, wealthier candidates, older and wealthier candidates who has godfather, who has money back to sponsor themselves. So moving forward, the amendment to 2010 Electoral Act, which was the 2022 amended Electoral Act, drew limits on campaign funds, and that was when things begin to change. But the problem with that Electoral Act is that it skipped limiting the excesses of political party in the amount of money they charge for nomination form. So the Electoral Act didn't look into that, and I think this is one thing that young Nigerians needs to fight for going forward, because the way we fought for not too young to run bill, the way we fought for the 2022 amended Electoral Act, I think the young people also need to fight for that act to be amended in such a way that there can be limits to the amount political parties can charge for nomination form. Because what happened is that with the law not looking into that particular aspect, the problem of money bags is still there. So it means that if a young people in APC who is 40 years of age, who doesn't have a godfather, and who doesn't have money somewhere, 100 million naira, that means that person cannot contest for presidency in APC, and not even in PDP, because I think they also charged up to 50 million for presidency. So I think that aspect of the Electoral Act still needs to be looked into, how much the parties can charge for expression of interest for nomination form to qualify to contest for party primaries. And I think this is one aspect that needs to be looked into. And I still this problem of so the law has taken care of some of the challenges that we have with the old electoral process, challenges such as ballot snatching, vote buying, rigging at the collation center. And the major provision of the new Electoral Act to take care of those was the electronic transmission of results, which was the major change that we have in the new Electoral Act. However, we see how that was not followed in the 2023 presidential elections that was just held on February 25, which I think that was a major setback in our political landscape. And the level of violence we saw in that election was a major setback. It's something that we were not expecting. We were expecting an improved electoral system. We were expecting um, um, an improved youth participation. We were expecting peaceful election. We were expecting a more transparent election to what we used to have in the past. We're expecting a situation where there will not be vote buying, where there will not be thuggery in our election. Um, but but what happened is that we had a setback. All of this we did not achieve. So now the perspective is changing. Young people are beginning to challenge what the challenge is. They are beginning to challenge the problems they face in Nigeria electoral system. and and I see that Obidients are resolute, are resilient, and they begin to challenge the status quo, and which is a very, very good development in our political space, in the sense that the level of participation is increasing, and their voices are beginning to signal their readiness to become leaders of today and not and no more of tomorrow. Because what I've been in the past, we've been saying that young people are leaders of tomorrow. But what we've seen in 2023, or let me say from 2022 to up to now with the obedient movement, is that they are saying that no, we are leaders of today, not of no more of tomorrow. And we've seen their determination are becoming more visible through the way they aggregate themselves, through the way they articulate themselves, through the way they mobilize themselves. And we've seen a change, for example, candidates that we know Godfather. Look at what happened in Lagos. Look at the number of House of Representatives that are number of House of Representative candidates that won the election without any Godfather, just because of the obedient movement, saying that we want to do things differently. So this is what is happening. It's changing perspectives, and what I want to say is that even though we had setback with the election itself, the election did not go the way we wanted, and I think the obedience need to look at where we are coming from 1999, money bags, political godfathers, really, really bad system where young people doesn't have any voice, doesn't have any chance to influence anything, to what we have right now. It's not a perfect system, it's still having all these challenges, but it appears like young people are beginning to show that they have a voice and they will make their voice heard. So this is the improvement that we have. But now, another thing I want to speak to in this talk show is the issue of division of the factors that the political class in Nigeria has used to divide young Nigerians, which is the issue of ethnic sentiment, the issue of religious sentiments, and I think that obedient movements have really tried, because I see unity across different religious, different ethnic sentiments. For example, obedience in southwest Nigeria among the Yorubas see obedience in southeast as one, see obedience in north central as one, see obedience in northwest and northeast as one. They see themselves as one. But the warning is that the political class, knowing that the division along ethnic and religious and even party affiliation has worked in the past, they will continue to fire this sentiment. They will continue to fire they will continue to fan the fire of this division, because they cannot stand a united young Nigerians. So Obidients should look out for those divisions. For example, if you look at the APC and the PDP, they begin to say that the Obidients are Igbos, they are IPOPs, they are this. It's a way to try to factionalize the movement and try to bring some sentiment and say, look, Obidients in the north, you cannot trust the one in the south because they are IPOP members. Some of them says they are Igbos, but we've seen as evident in Lagos that even among Yorubas, especially the young people, they did not vote for the candidacy of APC, and they didn't allow the coloration of Peter Obi's candidate of Igbo. They didn't allow that to discourage them. They went for what they wanted. So this division will continue to come. Political class will continue to use this as a tool to divide young Nigerians that are yearning for change, that want change of narratives, that want to vote for ideas, for candidates, for interests that have the young people at heart, for interest that favors the young people. So I think that this mindset of going for what they want should be the paramount thing, not all this division that will come their way. So what is the way forward? Now, the movement has leadership. They have Peter Obi, which is the beacon of hope for the leadership. So how has Peter Obi comported himself, even in the face of the injustice, in the face of the manipulations that happened on February 25th, 2023? Peter Obi has comported himself in a very good way and say that, look, I remain committed to fighting for young Nigerians. I remain committed to fighting for a better Nigeria, not because of me, but because of the future of this country, because of the future of young Nigerians, the current generation and the coming generations. And I think that the Obidients movement have to see this vision. They have to see this vision that Peter Obi is bringing on board, and they need to support. They need to show commitment. They need to show that they have leadership. They are not APC and PDP supporters. We call them headless mob. No, Obedience movement have leaders, and I think they need to trust in the leadership of Peter Obi. I'm not talking about Labour Party, because I believe that Obedience movement, majority of them are not members of Labour Party. So that is why you will see that Labour Party is not coming in my discussion. I don't want to talk about Labour Party because I understand that Labour Party is like a vehicle for Obedience movement to achieve their aim, but I'm talking about the movement itself and the leadership they have, which is Peter Obi and Dati Baba Ahmed. And I think they need to remain resolute. They need to remain committed to what they believe in, which is better Nigeria that is possible, which is kneel down for Nigeria, which is seeing Nigeria that works for everybody. And in the quest and their quest for inclusion, they need to continue to support Peter Obi. They need to continue to trust him, except if Peter Obi derail from this thing. So the point that I want to emphasize here is that Obedient movement will shape Nigerian politics beyond 2023 presidential election. Obedient movement will begin to go into grassroots, begin to have governors in states, different states of the federation, House of Assembly members, House of Representative members, Senate members, and will continue to put that structure that the people have always said that they don't have. They continue to put that structure in place for good leadership in Nigeria. So I think this is what should continue And this is what Nigerians obedient movement must note, that all their efforts are not in vain. There is leadership in place. There is a pathway to a new Nigeria, and irrespective of what other people are saying, they need to continue to remain resolute and to remain committed to that new Nigeria. So this is what I want to say on this talk show for today. Please drop your comments for me in the comment section. And also help to share this post if you this show if you like it, and subscribe to Fat Corner to see the previous discussions that we've done on this channel, and also to see the subsequent ones. FACT in uppercase and Corner in lowercase, and we're on Facebook and also on YouTube. Once again, Fat Corner, our motto is empowering youth towards a better Africa, and we do talk shows, interviews, and debates, which are meant to educate young people in Nigeria and in Africa on their roles in politics, in leadership, and governance in their respective country. Thank you once again, and see you again.